Thursday is the day. Here we are. We made it, man, to Thursday. Made it thus far. Isn't that okay? Isn't that good? I think so. Should thank God for that. So we're gonna keep going with our topical theme on Thursday, and we've been looking at an article from our friends over at apologeticspress.org, written by our brother Kyle Butt over there, and it's in regards to atheism and the despair of atheism. And it's a lengthy article, which is why we've sectioned it off in a series format throughout the many weeks. Today we'll bring forth its conclusion, the last portion of the article. And it's been a wonderful journey thus far, allowing us to read, of course, the information of the article and have independent thought and study as well to add in commentary, perspective, and things of the kind. And so the despair of atheism, we will run a bit of a backlog to what we've seen already, leading us to our session today in the last portion, if you will, the concluding portion of this article. I again plug them in all the time. They are a wonderful source of information and apologetics for defending the true and pure Christian faith. apologeticspress.org. My name is Stefan Maillet. AddedSouls.com is my website, and I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. And you can certainly check out the .com, eastcoastchurchofchrist.com, and we have a Facebook page, East Coast Church of Christ. I typically go live from Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. Today, because of some local responsibilities and things that need to be done earlier, I had to, of course, hit the live button much earlier. So we are 8:40 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. But for you, it may be the afternoon, it may be the evening. Hey, man, whatever. Good to have you. Please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, drop a comment, all that kind of good stuff. It's important, really, because we faithfully believe that there are others out there, just like you and I, who want to tap into this information and be encouraged, be challenged. We can find value in the substance of the material and find practical application to our faith, our life. Many of us have gone through similar journeys. Many of us have gone from decades of godlessness to now following Jesus. How did that happen? Where did that come from? Which is why I think these articles are a gem to be endorsed, if you will, in the great, vast, fallen world out there, so that those of us who seek can truly find tangible conversation to hold on to, and know that we can find ourselves reinforced. Good to see you, Jackie. We're a bit earlier this morning, as I was telling our viewers. It's got some responsibilities to accomplish, so we had to go live a bit early. I basically just woke up, showered, came to the studio, and here we are, hit the live button. We're going to continue with the article, apologeticspress.org, over at apologeticspress.org, called The Despair of Atheism. Let me switch the screen over so we can read along here and see what's going on. Hope you're doing well on this Thursday morning. Really do. Praying you are doing well. Hope you will have a wonderful day, an encouraging day. Whatever comes your way, remember, we can persevere through it. We can deal with these things. So the despair of atheism. However, if you are an atheist and you are fully convinced of your atheistic worldview and you are a practicing atheist, there's just no hope. There's no meaning to life. That's kind of what we have been seeing, of course, from their own writers. Atheists don't shy away from their worldview. They truly believe that there is absolutely no meaning to life because we are slaves to the dance of our DNA. We are the products of primordial soup. We put our full blind faith in time, the religion of time. The more time we have blind faith to believe, the more things are meaningless. And that is indeed the worldview. What happens, though, most of the time is those who subscribe to atheism do not practice atheism faithfully. Oh, they will evangelize at time, but and at times they may even find themselves militant. but mostly they just associate and subscribe to atheism in a vain way, if you want to be precise, very vain and idle way. Meaning, yeah, they will tell you, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in any gods. However, they live life. They live their life within the principles of Christian religion. Find a good friend to marry and live a happy life and have a good career and be kind to your neighbors, be kind to people, They'll do those things, which, of course, logically means they are not practicing their worldview. They just associate with it. They just subscribe to the worldview. Yeah, I'm an atheist, but I don't live according to the tenets of atheism, the doctrine of atheism. I don't live according to that doctrine. Now, some do. The minority do. There are a few in there that most certainly do live and practice the worldview of atheism. And they do, because they go on to rape and murder and pillage and destroy everything before them, because they're animals, and they know they are animals, and they know there's no right or wrong, and everything's subjective. There's no up or down. There's no heaven or hell. There's no consequence to anything, because everything is a construct of evolution, and it's subjective, and it's just a feeling, so we can do what we want to do at any time, and it's survival of the fittest, so you were in my way, I'm going to murder you. And that's, some do that. Those who do are faithful. It's kind of like peaceful Muslims. You can find Muslims, individuals who subscribe to Islam, who are very peaceful people. Very peaceful. But then you will find those who are faithful to the Quran and to their prophet Muhammad. They become barbarians and murderers and rapists and pedophiles. They are faithful to their religion, truly. Just like the atheist who goes on his way to put an axe in someone's skull, an innocent bystander, to behead someone in public, to shoot up a shopping mall or a theater or whatever. I mean, they are putting their faith into practice. These are true and militant, verified atheists. So you can see how that applies across the board, obviously. In Christianity, you will find those who subscribe to Christianity, who call themselves Christians, who may go to a church during the week, and yet practice all sorts of gross immorality or unrighteous violence, or murder people and rape as well, and just live crazy. Well, they aren't faithful. That's the thing. They are not faithful to Jesus. So you will find atheists who subscribe to atheism who practice Christian principles. And you will find Christians who subscribe to Christianity yet live atheist principles. It's the same with Islam or Hinduism and all facets of religion. You have to study the religion, its origin, its facets, its doctrine, and those who subscribe to it. Now, I am certainly thankful that most atheists do not practice their worldview. They subscribe to it, but they don't practice. I'm thankful for that. I am thankful that most Muslims over here do not practice their pure form of religion in the Quran. I'm thankful for that. But the possibility is always there. You see, they have no law to stop it. The peaceful Muslim ultimately has no, hey, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to be violent and barbaric and murder and pillage and rape. They don't have that standard. They don't have that law. Atheism is the same way. Atheism does not have a standard or law to say, well, it's wrong if you murder, rape, and pillage. If you cheat, steal, and fornicate, or whatever you want to do. Do whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. There's no law to say you can't. Now, Christianity, on the other hand, is the highest measurement of social standard and behavioral activity. And so it is the law that says it is wrong to murder. And not only it is wrong to murder, because just saying so has no consequence until you back it up with the penalty. If you are found as a murderer guilty, you will have eternal life. You will be the recipient of the prize you so sought. The wages of sin is death. You worked real hard all week being a murderer. Now it's time for your paycheck. It's time to die and be eternally damned. Now, of course, if you don't believe in any of those things, that won't faze you whatsoever. And even if it doesn't faze you, it doesn't really alter the reality of it. You will face eternal punishment. You will face perhaps even earthly punishment through the justice system, if it is, of course, honored and respected once again. So, yeah, that's just the reality of these worldviews. You can subscribe to atheism. Atheism has no law to deem anything wrong, which is interesting to me because it's militancy. Those who are militant with it say that Christianity is wrong. Well, they have no standard to say it is, though. There's no barometer for them. They have no law. Christianity has a law to say atheism is wrong because Christianity has a law. It's the standard of the most divine, highest source and power. We have that. So, in that vein or artery of conversation, of course, we were opening up our friends apologeticspress.org, an article called The Despair of Atheism, written by our friend Kyle Butt over there. And throughout the weeks, we've been going through this article because it's a lengthy article and it has various portions and sections that are worthy of taking the time to read and kind of have conversation about. And if you would really like to start from the very beginning, you can. The video archive is available on our platforms, on our Facebook page, Rumble channel, YouTube. Yeah. And it's also in audio form on our audio podcast locations. So what we went through thus far in this article, okay, it's introduction. We went introductory material, literature. We went through that. Then we hit this portion. It says atheism implies that life is meaningless. And what I truly appreciate from our friends over at Apologetics Press is they allow the atheists themselves, their literature, their spokesmen, their leaders, their head chief evangelists, if you will, their militant portion of their religious worldview. They just allow their own words to speak for itself because they do. They will tell you what they believe. They will tell you how they live. And if you just pay attention to them and listen to what they have to say, they'll reveal themselves to you. Atheism implies that life is meaningless. And of course, this portion of the article quotes their most prestige, well-respected and honored believers and evangelists, explaining to the world that, yeah, there is absolutely no meaning to life. There's no purpose for your existence. It is a meaningless existence. And so we went through that portion and had conversation upon that. Again, it's their own words. They're fighting against themselves, really. They're not fighting against us. We're just saying, hey, you said that life is meaningless under an atheistic worldview. They get angry at that, but it's true. It's what they say. Then, of course, from their own literature as well, they speak about creating their own meaning. Since life has absolutely no meaning whatsoever, there's no purpose to it, we're just a bunch of animals, well, we have to create our own meaning. And so they go on to explain that one of them even said, the meaning of life for me is watching my dog take a crap outside. Literally. Like that's the might of their intelligence. That's where they land. They have to. Because we're just a bunch of animals and nothing means nothing. There's nothing exploded and created something, but something is from nothing and nothing is just what we are. We can't think for ourselves, that we don't have a conscience. We don't have anything. Like we're just, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just talking, blah, 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 let me murder someone. I mean, that's the end result of it. Again, it's a nonsensical, of course, worldview that has absolutely no science or evidence to back it up, but yet this is what has hijacked mainstream education these days. So creating our own meaning, which, of course, again, it's the height of contradictory elements. I mean, there is no meaning to life, so I have to create my own meaning. Well, no, you can't. There is no meaning to life. You can't create a meaning. You said there is none. So you have to create, that's, again, create, really? And they say those very words. There's no such thing as creation. We're all just a bunch of accidents. So I'm going to have to create my own meaning. Do you not see that? I mean, I subscribed to their worldview for many years, like decades. I mean, it's these moments here where I actually started to think for myself that I was like, hey, this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So they go on to speak about how they have to create their own meaning. And again, one of them says the meaning to life is watching his dog go outside do his business. Like that's what he thinks. Many of them just say the same kind of random. I find my purpose in life in eating pizza. Okay. Then again, if you'd like to dive deeper into that portion of the article and what we had to say about that, you just go ahead into the archived video section, video portion. So the next section we looked at was life has no meaning, but just act like it does. So there is no meaning to life, so we have to create our own meaning, right? So we just have to act like it does. Like it's not real, it's not true. And again, there is no truth, but it's not true that there is meaning to life. There isn't. So we have to just act like it does. We have to lie to ourselves that it has a purpose somehow. And again, the article quotes their own people, their own evangelists, their own militant religious believers. And then, of course, that leads to another portion of the article titled Nothing Left But Despair. Ultimately, yeah. And they say it themselves. Again, the article just simply quotes their own literature, their own leaders. There's nothing but despair. There's no meaning. Everything is miserable. One of them says, we're nothing but tormented atoms in a bed of mud. They speak of how we're just miserable. There's really nothing to it. It's just a life filled with despair, pitiless and dark. Like that's their own literature. That's what they have to say. And then that led us to another portion of the article titled A Response to Atheism's Despair, which we land today for our session where we're going to read and see what's happening there. So basically, we've been seeing how they exist in this worldview. There is no meaning to life, so we have to create our own meaning, and we have to lie to ourselves and pretend that it's real, our own meaning. And that's it. We're useless. We're a bunch of animals. We should just go jump off a bridge. And I assure you, the true, faithful, militant atheist will do so, ultimately. He will murder, rape, pillage, and jump off a bridge. Because there's no meaning to life. There's no purpose. And he perhaps becomes tired of pretending there is. It's a miserable, useless, dark life. Even if you can call it life, death. It's a slow and agonizing death. Because who cares? Nothing exists. Nothing is real. We're all just whatevers. Primordial soup. We're all just clumps of cells that should be violently and barbarically dismembered. We should chemically castrate our children, shouldn't we? We should violently poison them and utilize them for our own lustful fetishes and perverted desires, and we should just murder. We should legalize murder. We should murder babies. We should murder depressed teenagers. We should murder elders and seniors. We should just murder. Murder, murder, murder. We should depopulate the whole earth, really. It's a plague, isn't it? It's insufferable how we're useless. We should just get rid of, I don't know, 7,500,000,000 people. That's what we should get rid of. It sounds like a pretty good number. We're all atheists. There's no purpose to life. There is no God. There is no right or wrong. Let's just, again, murder as much as we can, rape, pillage, pervert, and jump off a bridge. I mean, ultimately, who are you to tell me I'm wrong? There is no right or wrong. So we saw how deep that goes. We see how deep that goes. Some friends with us, Collins, Tammy, Anik, Jackie says, wouldn't the lack of meaning lifestyle be depressing? Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good observation. Certainly. Why are we seeing record numbers of substance abuse, overdose, suicide, crime, murder, riot, loot, division, racism, destruction from all ends. It's just destruction on all ends. What the removal of our liberties and freedom, everything. Fallen nations. What's happening? There is no God. Who cares? We're just a bunch of animals. The best thing you could do is just jump off a bridge. That's the worldview. That's where it lands. We think it's filled with flower. We masquerade it as some kind of a virtue. You don't need to feel guilty. Live life. Live in sin. Fornicate. Be an adulterer. Practice homosexuality. Do what you want to do, really. It's fine. You don't need to feel guilty. There is no heaven or hell, right or wrong. See, that's its attraction. That's the charm, right? It signals its virtue that way. But it's just whipped cream on the cow patty. The true element of its worldview is the cow patty. It's the manure. It's the stench and the disease. It's the mold. It's the contaminant. It's just this evil, polluted filth. So yeah, the end result is depression, mental illness. I mean, we live in a society where men think they can be women. All of this stems from the very ism of atheism. We would have never made it this far in society to go so far down that spiral downwards. We would have never made it to this depraved, immoral element of our society if it wasn't for the first ism to enter the door of Western culture, which is atheism. Convince people there is no God, we're just a bunch of animals. How do we do that? We call it science. That's all we need to do. We call it science. See, the minute we call it science, everyone's like, oh, it's science. And then we tag certain things to it. Hashtag from the experts. The experts say it's science. There is no God. And we believe that because we're ignorant. We believe that. So we jump off the bridge. Okay, so that is the bleak and meaningless existence of atheism. Is there a response to that? Is there a reply? Is there any hope? Is there a different worldview? Is there something quite contrary? Is there evidence to the difference? Well, yeah, absolutely. Most certainly. Most certainly. So we're going to read through this portion and we'll have ourselves a conversation as we move along. A response to atheism's despair. Again, this article is from our friends over at apologeticpress.org, written from our friend Kyle Butt. And please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, drop a comment, that kind of good stuff. It really helps the material move forward and find other souls like you and I out there who may find value and utility in this kind of session. A response to atheism's despair. Madeleine Murray O'Hare was the founder of the American Atheist Organization. She lived a life in complete rebellion against her God. Her rabid atheism prodded her to attack the idea of God whenever she could. But her atheism could not bring her joy. Only a forlorn heart of desperation. When her personal belongings were auctioned, it was discovered that on 6 different pages of her writings was the heartbreaking cry, quote, "Somebody, somewhere, love me." Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? There is no God. There is no purpose to life. There is no meaning. We're nothing but primordial soup. We're nothing but an accident. Someone please love me, she says. Well, that's impossible. Why would you even have that emotion? What are you talking about? You're an animal. You're not allowed to have a conscience. Of course, they would say, well, that's just a misguided product of evolution there, and societal contamination got to her, and, oh, be quiet. Be quiet. What a foolish thing. What a foolish worldview atheism is. No, she was in deep despair and lonely and sad and found without any hope whatsoever in life. because she was a blind follower of the blind. Somebody somewhere loved me, only to depart this earth and meet the very source of love, saying, I loved you. I've always loved you. You were created in my image. But you hated me bitterly, militantly, with great hostility. You hated me. You did everything you could to hinder everyone around you from knowing how much I love them. You hated me. And of course, at that stage of her existence, her eternal existence is, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, please give me another chance. There can't be another chance. That wouldn't be just. It wouldn't be in the order of law and justice. It just wouldn't be just. It would be corrupt. I can't do that. My nature is pure and just and loving. I can't just, well, I suppose. No, it wouldn't be just. It would be, we understand that. And I've utilized this illustration numerous times. Someone in your family is murdered. A loved one is murdered. We capture the individual, the guilty individual who murdered a loved one. He's on camera. There's eyewitnesses. There's DNA. I mean, the man's guilty, without a shadow of a doubt. All the evidence is there. And the judge just says, well, since, you are now recognizing that it's wrong, I guess you don't need to go to jail for life. I'll let you go. You know that wouldn't be just. You know that. So she says, somebody somewhere loved me. She meets God, and God says, here I was all along. I mean, how many times? And he may even show her the numerous times in her life where through his providence he was seeking to insert a challenge to her thought that he was real, that he does love her. She neglected, she rejected, she militantly fought against. What a sad existence. What a sad existence. I find it sad. Somebody somewhere loved me. The article continues, the greatest tragedy of atheism is that it strips the world of everything meaningful, including real love. Well, yeah. Yeah. It does. It does, really. It just brings it to such a useless life, really. Such a useless life. Atheist Dan Barker and Brother Kyle Butt had a debate there. That was a pretty good one. It's worth your watch. I think you can find it on YouTube or on their apologetics website. Atheist Dan Barker admitted that, according to atheism, quote, in the end of the cosmos, it's not going to matter. You and I are like ants or rats or like pieces of broccoli. Really, in the big picture, there is no value to our species. We are no different than a piece of broccoli in the cosmic sense. Yet, one of them says, somebody somewhere, please love me. Man, oh man. Man, oh man. Isn't that's the saddest thing. It's just, that's what little Johnny and little Susie are being taught. That's why they don't want to go to church no more and believe in God. Because science, the experts, the science says, we're nothing but broccoli and ants. We're useless. There is no meaning to life. They don't even believe themselves. These foolish individuals don't even believe themselves, man. Somebody somewhere, please love me. That's the deathbed confession. That's what they have to say. As we have seen, according to atheism, humans are nothing more than matter in motion. Quoting again now from their own words, tormented atoms in a bed of mud. Useless. What are you feeling compassion for? Get rid of that. You're not allowed to have that here. Empathy, compassion, care, forgiveness, love, benevolence. Get rid of all that. Who needs that? That's just fake stuff. It's not real. We're a bunch of animals. Act like animals. And they do. And they do. Our actions will not determine where we spend eternity. And any feeling that one person may have for another person can only be skin deep. It can only be a product of the physical brain. As much as atheists try to discuss love, hope, honor, or any of the elevated human virtues, they cannot explain how such can exist in a world without God. They just can't do it. They never have, they never will. Again, this worldview was refuted 100-some years ago. Every time it rears its head, it was refuted for being illogical, malfunctioning, sensational theories. It's just really a useless worldview that does nothing but help destroy everything around you. But this time around, it worked. Because by this time around, we got idle. We got bored with Christianity. So we were ready and willing, hook, line, and sinker, to believe the nonsense. No, really, no, listen. Nonsense. It is the realm of nonsense. They'll say it themselves. Atheism is nonsense. There can't be any sense. There is no meaning. We can't think for ourselves anyways. It is the realm of nonsense. Senseless. There is no sense. Sadly, the article continues, just like O'Hare, there is a world full of people who want someone to love them. That's the core truth of it all. That's the source, truly. But they refuse to recognize that there is someone who does. We spoke of this, haven't we? Yeah. Their creator, God, loves them so much that he came to die on the cross for them. Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, gave his life to prove his love for humanity and to show humans that they are not cosmic accidents, but intentionally designed persons who have a meaning and purpose in life. And he gave his life so that those humans who choose to obey him can live eternally in heaven. Quote, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." John 3:16, the most commonly quoted Bible verse among Christendom. But God's love has limit. It does have a limit. There are boundaries. God will not break his word. He is bound by his word. Can God create a rock he can't lift? No, listen, God is bound by his word. He has given himself boundaries. So no. As much as he loves us, and he has displayed that to the highest degree, sending his Son to die on a cross for us, which is, again, recorded by those who loved him and those who hated him, recorded in inspired history and secular history, and all logical paths and evidence scream the reality of this account. There are boundaries. God has limit. He will not force anyone to believe in him. But atheism will force you to believe in meaninglessness. It's interesting to me how they call themselves free thinkers. That's the last thing they're permitted to do, is to think freely. They're not allowed to think freely. They can't. They're animals. You can't think freely if you can't think. See, God allows you to think. God says you have free will. You can use your mind and think. Think. Why is everything around you engineered with such intelligence, such intricate detail? Where did that come from? Nothingness? How does nothing create something? Like, it's a legitimate question. And someone says, well, it's the basis of your question is faulty. No, no, it really isn't. No, it's quite straightforward. It's a logical question. If I see something created, I automatically assume it must come from a creator. No, that's just a faulty view. Okay, where did the faulty view come from? Go on. Follow the train of thought. Atheism, right? Evolution? Yeah. Aren't we just supposed to go with the winds of evolution? Yeah. Okay. So then it's not wrong. Well, there is no right or wrong. Right. So once again, let us go to the conclusion of the matter. We are atheists. Rape, pillage, murder, and then jump off a bridge. God is quite different than that. God loves us. He knows He has blessed us with a mind to think. We have free will. Free will. He will not force anyone to believe in Him. He loves each person enough to let us all freely choose whether or not to believe and obey Him. We can. We can neglect and reject, or we can believe. It's just, that's what it is. That's what it is. And our choice will determine our eternal destiny. Yeah. Moses once wrote to the Israelites, quoting now, I can call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life. Deuteronomy 30:19. Choose life. The failure to choose the right beliefs and actions in this life has real consequences. There is a right or wrong. There is objective, absolute truth, reality. It exists. It's here. It's real. These are not imagined consequences that have to be endowed with meaning by subjective, arbitrary feelings. On the contrary, the consequences are objectively real. It is the truth. Following the Christ is a much better existence. It is a much more loving and real existence. Oh, I know. I used to be on the other side. I used to have that worldview. Why do you mock it? Why do you militantly seek to ridicule Christianity? Where does it come from? Where is it in your mind? Because you're not allowed to think. You can't think. You're an animal. So where is the source of your indignant and militant evangelism as an atheist against Christianity? Where does that come from? Think about it. Really, why do you hate us so much? Why? Where does that come from? You can't say because you believe we're wrong. There is no wrong in your worldview. You have no authority to say we're wrong. You just don't. So where does it come from? See, questions are necessary to be asked to figure it out. I had to. What, are you special? No, you're just like us. You have to figure these things out. We are not ultimately like broccoli or rats, like atheists say we are. No, we're not. Our decisions really matter. They do. For now and for eternity. Yep. Those who refuse to acknowledge God can have no hope for an afterlife of joy in death. Only despair. That's it. That's what you have to look forward to. And imagine how truly unfortunate and sad that is. You live your whole life adhering to the worldview of godlessness. There is no meaning. There is no purpose. You're just a slave to the dance of your DNA. You're no better off than a mud pile or a cow patty. You're just useless in life. There is no purpose. Despair, depression, nothing good. Nothing good. And then you have to die and go on to eternal punishment, where the worm never dies, the flame is never quenched. You are alone in agony for eternity. That seems like let's call it science. That's smart. No, listen. There's a better way of life. There really is. And there's evidence for it. Those who refuse to acknowledge God can have no hope for an afterlife in joy or joy in death, only despair. Agnostic Bart Ehrman, who once claimed to be a Christian, wrote, quote, "The fear of death gripped me for years, and there are still moments when I wake up at night in a cold sweat." Well, why? You're an animal. Who cares? But he does, doesn't he? Oh, now I hit the button somewhere. So where did I go? Brought us all the way down there. Where are we? Come on. got to find myself. There we go. And there are still moments when I wake up at night in a cold sweat. You see, the Bible explains that Christ came to defeat death and, quote, release those who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage, Hebrew 2:15. He's come to liberate us from that fear. Really, yes, he's come to liberate us from that fear. The only solution to fear of death and the deep, abiding despair that stems from atheism is to seek God and his will. Really, it is. I'm begging you. Listen, it is. I know. I'm a product of that transition, that conversion. It is. Madeline Murray O'Hare's cry, "Somebody, somewhere, love me," echoes across the world from millions of voices who are trying to find love and hope apart from God. They can't. They want it so much. They want love. They just don't think it exists, but they want it. If they'd only recognize, if they'd just remove themselves from the shackle of that small little dungeon of hate and godlessness and open up their thoughts to think for themselves, they can certainly find God and find love. The irony of it all is that they have shut their ears to the voice of God, who through his Son calls from the cross, "I love you." Instead of the bleak, tormented, useless, meaningless, purposeless, pitiless, miserable despair that atheism demands, let us turn our faces to the true light, hope, joy, and love that our Creator provides. Yeah, that's the solution. That's the answer. That's the reply. That's the response to atheistic despair. God, love. Love. Love conquers hate. It does. Some will change, obviously. Some will change. But some won't. Most won't. But the fact is that there is hope. There is hope. And atheists do convert to Christ. They do. We begin by thinking for ourselves. That's the first step. Think for yourselves. Why do these crazy, foolish Christians believe what they believe? They're science deniers, aren't they? They're a bunch of fools. Maybe I should find out why they believe what they believe. So I can mock them and ridicule them. I'll find out. I'll see what they believe. You know, I agree with atheists on most things. Are you aware of that? I agree with atheists who look at what calls itself Christianity out there and they say, "You call that's Christianity?" No, man, I don't want none of that. I follow science. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, what? Aren't you a Christian? Yeah, I'm a Christian because I've educated myself in the religion. I know where it comes from and why it is, and I know how to defend it. What you see out there masquerading itself as Christianity isn't. And so I understand why you are saying what you are saying, and I understand why you subscribe to atheism, because you've seen what calls itself a Christianity out there, and you told yourself that is the most illogical, nonsensical way to live, and what they believe and what they do. And I'm with you. I agree. I'm with you. I don't agree with them either. They aren't Christians. They say they are, but I know they aren't, because we have the law and the standard that tells us who is and who isn't, to a certain degree, to a measurement that is certainly palatable and understandable and practiced. There's hope. Just start asking questions. Apologetics wordpress.org is a very good location. They helped me a great deal way back in 2011. Way back in 2011. I found their website and started looking at their material, their videos, studies, their articles. And I was like, why is this making so much sense? Like, I didn't know Christianity was a real thing that could be defended. Yeah, it's a real thing. There's hope. There's life. There's love. There's forgiveness. It's all there. It's really all there. Start reading the Bible, the very book, we were told we shouldn't trust at all. Just start reading it. Start in the Gospel of Matthew. Turn off all distractions and just start reading for yourself with the right kind of heart. That's important, with the right kind of heart. Well, my friends, good to see you. Good to have you all. And take part of this session, which brought a conclusion, of course, to the article we had been following for several weeks now. That there's really not much more to add to it at this time. Atheism is a destructive worldview. It holds nothing but pain and sorrow and death and despair. The Christ of the Bible, the true principles of Christianity, the love of God, they give us hope. They can liberate us. They give us life, family, and unity, and perseverance, and courage. They give us something. Something. Way better than nothing. Way better than nothing. It was good to see all of you. See Marilyn there, Brandon, many others. Good to have you. Of course, always, as we go out, please consider subscribing, liking, following, sharing, all that kind of good stuff. Engaging with the material helps us find others out there who may be interested as well. And yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got for now. Stay focused and stay positive, Lord willing. Tomorrow, perhaps, for our session. Look at the itinerary. We go live from Monday to Friday. Usually we go at 10 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. This morning I had to go a bit earlier because I have some other responsibilities coming along. But yeah, that's what's up. Good stuff. Peace out.